Hello guys, Tom Yone here from Coding for Youth and welcome to our Python tutorial. This is lesson number 19 in this series. Um, we have been discussing everything about Python, starting from the very scratch, and we've talked about a lot what we can do with Python, operators, and data types. And currently, we are on data types. We are discussing the different types. In Python, we talked about strings, we've talked about integer, we've talked about boolean, talked about all that. And right now, we in few classes ago, we talked about data collection types like the list. We talked about the tuple. We talked about dictionary in the very last lesson. In this lesson, we're going to be discussing sets. It's actually a very unique data type in Python, and you should be able to know when to use sets or any of these data types. Okay, we're going to be intermediately, we'll be taking time and to create a little project in Python while we are learning. Now, before we get started in this particular lesson, I would like to encourage you. Remember that this channel, is actually created to encourage you out there to learn how to code. I just want to assure you that, though the beginning may seem difficult, as you keep on learning, practicing and consolidating the consistency of your and practice together, definitely you will pass the stage of difficulty and then you will become a master. Okay, all right, before we get started, or also want to say that please subscribe to this channel, leave your comment in the comment section and like the video. Now, without wasting any further time, let's get started. So we're talking about set today. We're going to define sets. It's actually a very popular term. If you're actually from the background of mathematics, you know, perhaps you can still remember some things, set theories, Venn diagram and all that. And also, we'll be looking at membership and the size of a set, and see the kind of operators, Python operators we can use on sets, and some set methods that we can use to add sets, items to the set, though we cannot modify the set, but we can actually add item. Uh, we'll also see, how to, the augmented assignment operators and all that, frozen sets. Okay, so let's get started. So, like I said, set is actually one of those Python types that's that is used to store that a collection of data. Okay, and the other three is the list, tuple, and dictionary. Okay, but I want you to take note of some few very important characteristics of sets. Number one, sets are unchangeable. Okay, they are unchangeable. Uh, we can actually remove items and add new ones, but they are unchangeable. Another thing, they don't allow duplicates. You can't have duplicate items in a set. Uh, um, you cannot you cannot predict the order, so we can't get the members of the set by their index, because each time you run a program that it contains a set, you see that the index, the order of the set will change, and we are going to be seeing that. So I would like to define a set by assigning this set to a variable. Let's say my variable, remember in Python we don't need a special keyword to declare a variable, so I'll just assign this to a set. And I'll remember also, set is actually defined using a curly bracket like Python dictionary, but unlike dictionary, it doesn't have a key and a value pair. Okay, now another thing I want you to take note is that set can actually accept any other data type, whether boolean, integer, floating points, a string, and all that. So we're going to have a set of few, strings. Let's say apple, and we have another item in the set. Let's say banana. Okay. Now you can define a set using any, double quotes or single quotes, a string rather. Okay, so let's say we have another one, Sherry, and then I want to have a duplicate of banana in the set. Okay. Now, first thing I want us to check is to check whether this is a set, whether it's a set type. So to do that, we're going to print, let's print the type, my set, and then we're going to run the program. you can see that this is actually a category, a class set. So this is a set type. Now there are basically two ways you can actually create a set. The first one is declaring the members of the set like this and assigning it to a variable. The second one is using a constructor, a set constructor. So a set constructor, for instance, I want to have the sets, something like this, and I have a tuple. I can say full go consider just get some few items of the set. We're going to look at so check some few things. There's just some strings. So we have 4 items in this set already. Now in the tuple, rather, this is a tuple. Now if we check the type for this, let me print this and check the type. The set, you see that this is a tuple. This is a tuple. Now I can change it to a set by just using a set constructor like this. Okay, if we check the type again, you see that this is a set now. So this is a set, and the first one is a set. So either way, you can define a set. Now, if we print the members of this set, if you print this set to check the members, you see that the first one has a duplicate of banana, but only 3 items and they are we have 4 items there. But when we print it, we have just 3 items. Now we have banana, apple, and cherry. Okay, and another thing is that you can see that the order of the set changed. In the first set we have, in fact, in the first set we have apple being the first item, followed by banana, cherry, and banana again. But in this case, the first item when it was printed, we have banana, apple, and cherry. Also in the second set we have full, bow, bars, bar, and bars. But you can see that the order has changed also. Now let's talk about how to get the length of the set. I'm going to check the length of the set. Okay, remember, set does not allow duplicate members. That's why you can see that the second banana was not printed out, and the order of the set is unpredictable. The order is unordered, so you cannot predict the order of the set. Now to check the length of the set, like this one we already have here now, we use the length function just like we have been doing in the previous classes on the data types. Okay, now we can check the length of this set by using the length function. If we print it, we can see that though the set when defined has 4 members, but it's telling you now that it's only 3 members because set has to remove the 4th member. So we have just 3 members printed out here. Now we can actually also understand that different types or different data types can be used as members of the set. So we can have this set having an integer also as a member. We can have a boolean also as a member of the set. We can even have a floating points as a member of the set. Now you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But because banana is repeated, when it is printed, we have just 6 members in the set. Okay, and if we should print it directly like this, we can see that banana is not printed along. Okay, so let's look at how to access the items in the set. Okay, how do we access the items in the set? Now we cannot access the items in the set by making reference to the index or the key. Okay, but we can actually look through a set. We can look through each of these sets, and we can also use identity operators on the sets. Okay, so how do we do that? Now we can use a for loop on the set. We can come here and say for x in sets, in my sets, for x in my sets, we want to print x. So if we run the program now, we can see that all the members of the set are printed out, but not in an ordered form. You can see the first being printed out, though it's not even in index 1. Okay, so the same thing, that's, to get it to look, we can actually look through, remember, through the items in the set. We can equally use an identity operator to check if a member, or if an item is present in the set. To do that, and of course that will always give us a boolean, either true or false. If the item is present, we have true. If it is not, we have false. So we can just print. Now this is very useful. You can use it for a conditional statement and all that. So in the first set we can, or the second set, let's look at the second set. We can check if the word full is in the set, in the set. Okay, and then we just run this. We see that it is true. If we add something like another F, another O, to check if that we have false. Okay, so because it is not in the set. So another thing is, once a set is created, we cannot change its items. We can actually add to the we can add new items to the set. Now to add an item to the set, we use, now we are not talking about a few of sets method. Okay, we use the add method. So let's say we want to add an item to the second set, we'll use an add method. Okay, so we can come here and say the set dot add, and then we specify the item we want to add. Let's say we want to add a new item called zoo. Okay, and then if we print the set, we can see the new item has been added. Okay, so let's run this program to check. You can see that the new item has been added. Let's run it again. Boom. You can see that the order is changing as you're running, as we keep on, as we print the sets. Now another thing we can do, we can equally we can use update font method to update the sets. We can use update method. We can have two sets. For instance, we want to combine these two sets together. Set the set and this set. We can come here and say the set. I will do that in the print statement, and I will say updates, and I want to add my sets to this. Okay. Now if we print this, the sets, my sets, the sets, my sets, update, having none. Okay, let me check. Okay, Now, what happened here is let's update before we print. Okay, so I'm going to be updating the set or changes to updates, and then my sets, then I'll print the sets. Okay, you can see now that uh, the sets, all the items in my set has been added to the set. So that's how you update the members of the set. Now, how do we remove items from the set? We want to look at removing items from the set. We can use the remove method or discard method. To remove an item from the set, we just come here, like say the set. We want to remove an item, we use remove, and then we specify the item that we want to remove. We want to remove zoo. Okay, we want to remove zoo is no longer there. I want to remove bar from the sets. Of course, this is a string. If we run this, we have just 3 items now in the set instead of 4. Okay, we can equally use discard. To remove an item. Okay, just take note of this method. We have discard. We still have the same results. Okay, we still have the same results. Now, if the item to remove does not exist, the advantage is that discard will not raise an error. Okay, let's say we want to remove an item like zoo that is not in the set, and then we run this. You can see no error is raised. Now, but if we try remove on an item that is not in the set, we see that we have a key error. Okay, zoo does not exist in the set. So if you want to remove an item without raising an error, you use discard. Now we can equally use pop method to remove an item, but this method will remove the last item. Okay, remember that sets are unordered, so you will not know what item that gets removed. Okay, so that's the disadvantage of pop. So the pop method will remove the last item. The pop method does not take any arguments. So you say pop, and then you will not have any arguments. So if you run this, the last item will be removed, and if you run it again, you see that the item is changing because you wouldn't know the one that will be removed. Okay. Let's talk about, we can actually use clear to another method called clear to empty the sets. Okay, so if you come here and say clear, if you want to empty the sets, you can just say clear, and then if you print the set again, you have an empty set. Okay, you have an empty set. We can use the word the delete keyword to delete the set completely. We don't have to, if we don't want the sets, so we can have something like this. The delete keyword, remember, is not a is not a method. So if I come here and I say delete, and I try to run this, you see that the set does not exist anymore. So that's why I have undefined here. The set is not defined. So these are the things we can do with sets. We've talked about looping through a set using the for loop. We can join two sets together using union. Remember that in mathematics we have union, and to join two sets together. So we can actually use updates or union. Now, if we use union method, it will return a new set containing all items from both sets. Now, update methods inserts all the items from one set into another. Okay, so the union method let's try the union method. So we're going to work, let's say we have this two set now. I want to create another set. Just say uh, set add like this, and then we want to put join set my set. Okay, so we use union now. The set. Now we're going to print set add, and then if we run this, so we see the two sets are actually joined together. So we can either use union or update. Now both union and updates will exclude any duplicate item, okay, from the set. Now if we want to keep the duplicates, only the duplicates, we can use intersect. Remember we have intersect or intersection updates. It will keep it will keep only the items that are present in both sets. Okay, now in mathematics we have intersect. So if we want to see items that are in both sets, we use intersect. If we want to join the set together, we use union. So we can actually use intersect to keep the items that are in both sets. So let's say we come to this second set now, and I have false and 1. If I run these two sets, we see that the union will not allow the duplicate to be there because it's a new set, so duplicate will not be there. Now if I want to keep the items that are in both sets, I'll use intersect. Okay, now how do we do that? So I'm going to assign this to a new variable. I'm going to say I'll use intersect instead of, so intersection like this, intersection, and then if I run the assets, I have just false and 1 because false and 1 are the two items in both sets. Okay, so you can use intersection to know to keep or to print out elements that are in both sets, and of course it's going to return a new set. Okay, so you have to assign that to a new variable because it will return a new set. Now if you want to keep all items that are not duplicates, okay, you use symmetric difference updates. Okay, so that's actually a compound word. Okay, that's a compound word. So let's say we come here, we say my set. We want to keep items that are not duplicates. Okay, so we say symmetric my set dots. I'm going to change this to symmetric difference updates. So it's actually a compound word. We have the set, my set, and then I want to print my sets. If we run this, you can see that bar, false and 1 are not in this set. So because those are actually duplicate items that are in both sets. Okay, so the symmetric difference method will return a new set that contains only the elements that are not present in both sets. Okay, so I said symmetric difference method will return a new set that contains only the elements that are not present in both sets. So we can just use symmetric difference. Okay, so basically Of course, there are some other methods that are present in the set that I will not, the time will not permit me to cover in this lesson. But I want to, I'm actually setting up a quiz. So at the end of the lesson, after watching the lesson, you can always, check your understanding level. So when I'm done with that, I will create quiz for all the classes we've had. So we've talked about the add, we've talked about the clear, we we didn't talk about the copy, but copy is also a method that you can use to, it returns a copy of a particular set. We've talked the difference, difference updates. We've talked about discard. We've talked about intersection and intersection updates. Uh, a few of them we've talked about remove, pop, and union and updates. Okay, so guys, thank you for watching. I have actually taken more time than I was supposed to, but uh, it's actually worth it. So thank you for watching, and of course, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys in another lesson. Have a nice day.